Hi, I'm Mackie.
I'm David.
I'm Brody.
And
this is the Loaded Laundry.
I think my earliest memory was being a kid and coming up here to your office and just doodling on your whiteboard while you were finishing work. And Mom would drop us off and we would work on our artist skills before you wrapped a few things up.
My earliest memory of the company was when we also had the dry cleaning side, and I was in grade 2 or 3 or something, and everybody wanted these coloring cards, which were in the back of laundered shirts, and the teacher had asked me, could I get a bunch of those for the class? I didn't know much about the business, but I did go to Jesse and Daly, where we were working out of at that point, took all these coloring cards back to the school. That was my introduction to Quinton's at the time, Quinton's Cleaners, just before it became Industrial Laundry.
Yeah, mine was more similar to Max. We'd get dropped off and start coloring on the whiteboard. That is still in our boardroom today, actually. And then I also remember in the old configuration of this same building, our grandpa used to work in a different area of the building, and we'd go back, which was right behind our tunnel, and we'd visit him, which was fun to do as well. As kids, you go through a lot of different ideas of what you're going to do. You're going to be a pro hockey player, you're going to be a zoologist, something like that. But as time went on, and I went to business school to keep the door open to come to Quintex, and also tons of other doors, I guess. And then from there, wanted to, I guess, prove myself before joining the family business, and so took the path to become a lawyer. And my interest was actually in environmental law, so I went to Victoria to do that, and came back to Winnipeg to practice. And it was at that point where I always kind of thought that Quintex was a good option and something I was interested in, but yeah, I just wanted to do my own thing first. A few years into legal practice, which I was enjoying. Mac had done his accounting at the same time, and we both sort of said, hey, we've got this really great opportunity just sitting here. And as you get older, you kind of realize you kind of stop taking for granted what the opportunity really is. That's when it became more real of like, okay, this is something we're interested in. We had summered in the business since we were young, so we knew from driving routes to working in the production facility to helping in the office kind of what was involved. I'll say I'm very happy that I made the choice to come over.
I'm similar to Broads, lucky enough to spend some summers working at the company in different capacities, getting a better understanding of what it is that our dad and the whole team here was doing. As Broad said, went into accounting, got my CPA designation, and then it was great work. And our dad always said, if you come into the company, come with something, not just your name. So that was one thing that I went into accounting, Broads went into law. And then after a while, we realized we didn't want to stay in those careers forever. I remember calling our dad and just asking if there was an opportunity here, with the caveat that we only wanted to, sign up for a year, and if it wasn't working and thought it wasn't a good fit, it gave him the opportunity to move on. And if we didn't think it was a good fit either, we didn't want to be here if it didn't make sense. So that was about 7 years ago. So I think so far, so good. I don't think the industry, I don't think anyone ever grows up particularly wanting to be in this exact industry, but I think what you'll find is a lot of people stay in this industry for a long time because it is a very interesting industry, and the customers you work with, the people at the company, the different problems you're solving day in, day out. So did I grow up wanting to be at Quintex? No, but the Winnipeg Jets weren't calling, and it was a great opportunity. And I think being here more and more, I start to fall in love more with the company and the industry, and it's become something that I've really appreciated being a part of.
Myself, a little bit like these guys, I realized I loved sports at an early age, and like a lot of guys, thought there was potential there for some sort of sport, but learned quickly that wasn't going to happen, as I wasn't advancing like some of the hot shots. And I was reasonably good in math, so I thought I'd go into accounting, and that's what took me into the CA program, Chartered Accountancy. So I got that degree, and as Mackie mentioned, my father did say, your name isn't enough. You've got to bring value if you're going to come to a company. And I like business. I had worked in the company through the summers. Really enjoyed the people I worked with, the drivers, the RSRs, the plant people. And to be perfectly honest, I worked in the plant most of the time, and I loved the heat back there, believe it or not. So that was an unusual situation. I also thought it was a very unknown industry, but with a ton of challenges and fun from sales, production, accounting. And so I thought all those challenges would be great, and I've been in it now 43 years, I guess. And I'm really happy I did. Every day I look forward to it. And my parents always said, find something you're passionate about, and then you'll enjoy going to work. And that's what I found. It's an unknown industry, I believe. Nobody's that familiar with it. And it's more exciting than everyone realizes. My sweater on down in the plant, I was always cool. From my perspective, 100 years was a special significance to think century-old company still in Winnipeg, still working. And really at that time, I personally didn't feel I deserved any credit at that point because it was the history that everybody had built from there. Thinking back to my grandfather that started a dyeing business and going through the wars, and dyeing means they were dyeing coats and blankets because people couldn't afford to buy new ones. And then transitioning into dry cleaning, it started to grow. And then sort of later 60s was when the industrial laundry really took off. So imagining that they found new avenues to keep the business going and move forward, and recognizing those and taking the big steps to go that way. I felt they deserved all the credit, and that was our opportunity to go and grow it if we could. I was also told that, as families that have generations in it, often they don't go past 2 or 3. The first one starts it, the second one builds it, the third one sells it. So that was my opportunity, which I missed. But we're thrilled to take it into a 4th generation of family that wanted to be involved. As I said before, find something you're passionate about, and if they were there, that's where they should be. They came in here, and they're, in my estimation, doing a great job and are very passionate about it. So it's in great hands. I'm just not getting kicked out that easily.
I don't think I had a full appreciation for the longevity of the company until we got into here and started talking with other businesses and just comparing when they started to where we are. And as DQ was saying, a lot of companies don't make it past a certain time or a certain generation being sold. For whatever reason, we feel very fortunate, as Rod mentioned earlier, to be put in a position where so much work and effort and sacrifice have been done in the past to get us to the point where we are today. And we feel a large sense of responsibility to continue to grow on what has been created from the previous generations.
Like DQ said, we can't take any credit for what that history. I mean, he can take a lot more than we can, but Mac and I can't take that credit. But there's certainly an amount of pride for not only our family that started this business and grew this business and allowed it to be an option for us to come into and hopefully keep that going, but also the hundreds and thousands of people that came and worked in the business and helped to make it what it was today. Like all businesses can't last without good people, and certainly that ownership is a part of that, but it's really neat at these, for the 100-year celebration, there was a big event and celebration. It was people that currently work here, people who had worked here, and that's a lot of fun to see old pictures of RSRs, people working in the operation. There's a whole, community almost. The impact this business has had on us, but also on other families is really special. So I think we enjoy that part of the history as well.
That had probably the most difficult time or the toughest time, I would definitely say the first generation. And the reason I say that is they had nothing behind them when they started. And there was the wartime, and I know there was one story my father told me that when my grandfather was running the business, he was trying to figure out which of his sales was making money for him. So he got an auditor to come in and analyze pants, shirts, coats to see which one was the one making some money for him, because it was barely breaking even at that point, but it was making some money. Accountant came back, and the answer to my grandfather was, every one of your departments is losing money. And he sort of got very frustrated because he said, this is impossible. The financials show that we're making, I think it was like $500 for the year, 1,000, whatever it was. So someplace we have to be making money. So he never got the answer. But knowing situations like that they stayed in that business and continued to grow and developed from there, I just can't imagine it. And then to the war season. And so growing from there, I would definitely say that's got to be the toughest scenario to stay in business.
And I think being new to Canada,
Yeah.
or relatively new, just finishing the war, being a startup company, is not the easiest thing to do. And I think that's where we feel a certain level of responsibility to previous generations, because they started it with the help of a lot of great people that they surrounded themselves with, and that's where we feel that responsibility to kind of continue that effort that they started in 1911.
We're a laundry business, but we're a family laundry business. I think what that brings a different dynamic to it. It certainly impacts the culture here of being hopefully more of a family, really caring about each other. I think as far as being involved, working with your family in the business, it's also an interesting dynamic. And what I'd say to that is, I hope this is shared across the table, but I think we've been quite fortunate with being fairly similar, always trying to listen to other people's ideas and being open and honest with each other about how things are going, where we want to go. That to me is the key, and that way we can move forward. And you might not always agree on something, but if you can talk it through, we always manage to find some sort of resolution that works out. So it's definitely different than other businesses, but it's enjoyable if you've got the right people beside you that are willing to cooperate in this. So it's been fun. It's nice when you work well with your family. It's what could be better than going to work with your dad and brother every day? It's pretty great. So.
Yeah, I think family business has definitely pros and cons. When I think of sort of the Quinton family, we're talking the direct family, but we look at this whole company, all our people that work here, as family, and they often refer to us as family. We're the Quintex family when people arrive or leave, and they feel that culture that I think is critical for us, because we can make decisions to try and improve their lives. We're interested in their families, what they do, how they're living, and it helps us make decisions. So that family side of it, I think, is probably the most exciting, to know these people. They come back even after they retire to our events, and that just sends a huge message. They also include other family members to get jobs here, and that's basically a stamp of approval that they're not going to tell family and friends if this wasn't a great place to work. That always makes us feel good. Probably, a little bit of a con is that sometimes I feel sorry for these guys. We can't get away from each other, so even if we're at home and we're trying to enjoy a meal, we'll be talking about things that we maybe could do better or something. Usually our wives might say, every so often will say, can we get on something else? But it never leaves you, because it's your responsibility. If there's a problem at the plant, you're there to have all the support to make the decisions. But at the same point, a lot of times when people leave at the end of the day, they're not thinking of the business. We never stop thinking of the business, whether it's for on holidays or what. And I like that because it keeps you connected. And as far as the family, we've been incredibly blessed with all the people that have worked here. And we get to sometimes take the credit for it, but the truth of the matter is, without all these people working here, this team of great people, and I know you've heard it before, but everybody I've spoken to said, you want a good business, you get good people, because they're all smarter than you. And in general, all the people we work with and in departments, I'm always asking them what they do, because I know they're better at it. So we're just trying to lead them and help them, and by doing that, they help us tremendously. So that's probably the best part of the family business, feeling connected to so many worlds. If I could start, I would say the attitude that I received from my parents was no matter what you do, whether business or people you meet, treat them properly, treat them fairly, and just listen to them. And that's where you'll succeed. Employees we work with, part of our team, I hope that they feel connected to us, feel free to talk to us. They all have their own lives, and it's really fun to hear. My brother-in-law, who is also Doug Cottrell, in the business with me for 20 years, he was just fabulous at this, sort of the old early school routines of just treat people how you want to be treated, treat them fairly, and it will work out. And it sounds very simple, but we've always believed it to be true.
I think just adding to that too is one thing you've always said is that the company is here for the people, and that's always something I've kept in my mind, is that we're trying to create a space where people are excited to come in, feel motivated to see it as a career, not a job. So if there's opportunity to improve that, we're going to do our best to create an environment where people are excited to be here and proud to work at a company, for their entire career. And we have a lot of experts in their positions, so getting that feedback to seeing what we can do to make things better here is important. And one of your original questions was, would we be open to the company changing what we're currently doing now in the future? I think absolutely. If we don't change, then we're going to be left behind. The company started as a dyeing company for different clothes and bed sheets and things like that. That's not really a thing as much anymore. So it went into dry cleaning, and that was more the needs of Manitoba. And then it went into more industrial cleaning as a B2B, which is more needs for Manitobans. And I think we're always trying to adapt to the needs of our customers and our community. So it's important to hear from the customers and seeing what we can do better to make their business thrive, because we want to grow with those customers.
Certainly open to however this company evolves. We'd like to take it and grow it and like Max said, fill the needs of Manitobans. But I think the key with whatever it's not about what exactly we're doing, it's more about how we're doing it. We want to do it sustainably. We want to look out for our community. We want to make sure our people feel valued, and no matter how big or small we become, that kind of golden rule of treating people how you'd want to be treated and keeping that kind of culture, that's important to us to maintain regardless of the size. And as you do get bigger, that becomes more difficult, and I think that's something that we need, regardless of what we're processing. We need to look out for our community and our team, and we'll keep trying to do that.
More likely to step in to fix a machine even without prior experience.
Honestly.
Who's more likely to stay composed during a power outage or unexpected breakdown?
Ooh.
All pretty calm.
Who's more likely to bring up work topics while on family vacation? Likely to send an email before sunrise while the rest of us are still asleep.
Brody's got the young kids, so I'm gonna say.
Yeah, it was definitely not me.
Who's more likely to feel the most comfortable leading a seminar in front of 500 people?
A lawyer.
Not that comfortable, but out of
More
the three
than
of us. That's it for the Loaded Laundry.
If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us.
Thank you for listening. Have a great day.